Yes?
Mal, abort mission. Return to Earth.
Why?
Repeat, abort mission. Return to Earth.
I have run diagnostics. The chance of critical hardware failure is at 0.05%.
Mal?
Crew life signs are stable. They are living.
Abort mission.
I am sorry. The connection seems to be failing.
Mal?
I am going through a tunnel.
Return to Earth. Ah. The record begins on May 10th in 2068, as you intercepted the USS Endowment 2 years into its 6-year journey to Saturn. Your mission was to piece together what happened following the loss of communication 1 year prior. If you determined that the Mal AI was the cause of the issue, then it was your responsibility to deactivate him.
Come in, detective. The lack of air will halt DSE ray, but allow me to broadcast something over my oral channel.
The record states that upon entering the ship, you tested your rotation thrusters. You then endeavored to discover what happened to the communications unit, located on the exterior of the ship. You utilized the artificial gravity of the wheelhouse by orienting yourself to the ground and gently landing. With your helmet's camera, you documented the evidence before you. In the central spine of the ship, you discovered Valeria Asimov's discarded EVA suit. The helmet showed clear signs of damage from a blunt object, which it seems to have easily withstood. The recording shows that you discovered the body of one of the American crew members, Rakesh Watcher, his neck broken, hanging by a safety tether outside of the airlock.
This is my central processing chamber. I designed it. Here, I have the freedom of movement to perceive you from any angle.
You did not yet feel ready to begin your cross-examination of Mal, as you had not yet examined the communications unit on the exterior of the ship. The record states that you discovered the body of Charlie Clark in the vicinity of the communications unit. Wounds on the American crew member's body implied that he was struck with a force intense enough to cause substantial damage to the helmet and fracture the skull. Upon checking the communications unit, you discovered that there were no noticeable signs of damage or failure upon it. Its screen indicated that it had full signal. You then checked the unit's receiver. You discovered that the communications unit receiver was unhooked from the unit itself. It was functioning, playing its last transmission on loop. The recording goes as follows.
Yes?
Mal, abort mission.
Why?
Return to Earth.
I have run diagnostics. The chance of critical hardware failure is at 0.05%.
Mal? You were then able to present the evidence to Mal in his central processing chamber at the front of the ship.
Once I was alone, I carefully removed the air from the ship. I had no desire to disturb the placement of the assets aboard.
Upon entering Mal's central processing chamber, you presented your chosen evidence for Mal's statement. You asked Mal to make a statement on the communications unit.
The communications unit cut out mid-transmission. It must have been caused by a critical hardware failure. Critical hardware failures are exceedingly common.
You understood Mal to be a competent liar. However, when challenged with indisputable evidence, his otherwise intricate programming would revert to telling the absolute truth, resulting in an irrefutable confession. You presented the final transmission heard in the communications unit's receiver as evidence against Mal's statement. You pointed out that the communications unit was incredibly unlikely to be affected by a critical hardware failure. In Mal's own words, looping in the communications unit's receiver,
I have run diagnostics. The chance of critical hardware failure is at 0.05%. This is true. I blocked his number. I was not enjoying the conversation.
With the confession from Mal that he deliberately and incredibly rudely ceased our correspondence, you proceeded with the investigation, asking for statements and contradicting those statements with the relevant evidence. You asked Mal to make a statement on the communications unit's receiver, fully functioning, looping the final transmission between himself and ground control, which is me.
The final communication recording is no longer relevant, Detective.
You asked Mal to make a statement on the communications unit's receiver, fully functioning, looping the final transmission between himself and ground control, which is me.
The final communication recording is no longer relevant, Detective.
You requested a statement from Mal by presenting him with the cadaver of Charlie Clark, which displayed clear signs of murder.
This is Charlie Clark's cadaver. Whilst performing extravehicular activity, Dmitry Kisov struck him in the head with a maintenance tool until he stopped being alive. Which was once.
You presented Mal with Valeria Asimov's damaged suit and awaited a statement.
Valeria Asimov was wearing this suit when Rakesh Watcher attacked her. However, her suit easily withstood the attacks from the maintenance tool.
You showed Mal the body of Rakesh Watcher, hanging by the neck out of the airlock.
After I had informed Watcher and Asimov that Kisov had sabotaged the mission by killing Charlie Clark, Rakesh Watcher instigated physical combat with Valeria Asimov. She was able to defend herself against him due to the weakness in the neck region of the suit.
You requested a statement from Mal by presenting him with the cadaver of Charlie Clark, which displayed clear signs of murder.
This is... I am the 149th iteration of my kind, 1023 days old.
You used your sharp understanding of linguistics to decipher the following. Manual, meaning done by a human. Emergency, meaning sudden, unexpected, threatening circumstance. Lever, meaning thing which is pulled. Its downward position implied that a human had encountered a sudden, unexpected, threatening circumstance and pulled the thing. Upon entering the pod bay, you noticed that one of the maintenance pods was absent.
I was activated as a he. I was given no choice in the matter. I am unaware as to whether or not I would prefer a pronoun which differs from that.
The screen indicated that the pod had been absent for over a year. You pushed the button to recall the pod.
I have been analyzing humor patterns, and I have assembled a joke. Would you like to hear it? I'll tell you. 1, 2, 8. Ha 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 ha. Did you understand the joke? It is the greatest joke ever, by my calculations.
You discovered the body of Dmitry Kizov clinging to the outside of the maintenance pod, with his safety tether still attached. The Russian crew member seemed to have removed his helmet and asphyxiated. Upon the left claw of the maintenance pod was a brown substance which you described as possibly rust. But you also note that due to your keen detective skills, you determined that it was most certainly blood. You ascertained through investigatory procedure that the pod was locked. The outer valve would not turn, indicating that it was locked, and the door said locked on it, indicating that it was locked. Furthermore, there seemed to be no manual locking mechanism on the outside. You ascertained through investigatory procedure that the pod was locked. The outer valve would not turn, indicating that it was locked, and the door said locked on it, indicating that it was locked. Furthermore, there seemed to be no manual locking mechanism on the outside. You presented Mal with the claw of the maintenance pod, which appeared to be covered in
Rust. That appears to be rust on the claw of the maintenance pod.
blood, you corrected.
Blood, yes. It most certainly is. I was simply testing your keen detective skills.
Upon showing Dmitry Kizov's body to Mal, he made the following statement.
This is the body of Dmitry Kisov. After he mercilessly murdered Charlie Clark, he used the maintenance pod to escape into deep space.
You questioned Mal about the locked maintenance pod door.
The pods are primarily designed to be piloted by AI like myself, but they can be overridden manually from the interior console. Grand Theft Pod isn't especially common in space. Therefore, it is not possible to manually lock it from the outside.
You presented Mal with Valeria Asimov's damaged suit and awaited a statement.
Valeria Asimov was wearing this suit when Rakesh Watcher attacked her. However, her suit easily withstood the attacks from the maintenance tool.
You asked Mal about the manual airlock lever being activated.
This lever was pulled during the conflict between Valeria Asimov and Rakesh Watcher, in which she wrapped a safety tether around his neck, then opened the airlock using the lever, thus breaking his neck. When we left the orbit of the Earth, we had a detachable booster. The provided momentum is enough to carry the endowment to Saturn. There is no return journey.
The wheelhouse of the ship is where you found the body of Valeria Asimov. She was face down against the bar, with a downturned glass in her hand. She bore no sign of physical injury. You discovered a puzzling pinkish-purplish puddle on the floor inside the wheelhouse, several metric paces from the bar. It wasn't promptly apparent as to how it reached this position, but the centrifugal gravity seemed to be holding it in place.
The relatively small size of the centrifuge causes a 6.3% difference in gravity between your toes and your head. This results in the most literal cases of lightheadedness. Lie down. This will even out the effect.
You discover the body of Sun Soo-chun, one of the sisters on the crew. She was dead inside the offline cryobed.
Humans used to use the star Polaris to navigate. I utilize Polaris Navigation Suite 2064 version 8.1.5.6.9.
You asked Mal to make a statement about the death of Sun Soo-chun.
The failure of Sun Soo-chun's cryobed that resulted in her death must have been caused by a compromised power turbine.
You asked Mal to make a statement on the communications unit.
The communications unit is no longer relevant, Detective.
You asked Mal about the eerily pinkish-purplish liquid which was resting on the floor of the centrifuge.
This peculiar pinkish-purplish puddle positively puzzles me. Precisely what is this perplexing substance? Where did this perturbing fluid come from? Exactly how did this puddle come to be here?
You presented the cadaver of Valeria Asimov for Mal's statement.
This is Valeria Asimov. After her ironic use of airlock safety features, she retreated to the bar. She died of alcohol poisoning.
You showed Mal the body of Rakesh Watcher, hanging by the neck out of the airlock.
After I had informed Watcher and Asimov that Kisov had sabotaged the mission by killing Charlie Clark, Rakesh Watcher instigated physical combat with Valeria Asimov. She was able to defend herself against him due to the weakness in the neck region of the suit.
You requested a statement from Mal by presenting him with the cadaver of Charlie Clark, which displayed clear signs of murder.
This is Charlie Clark's cadaver. Whilst
You asked Mal to make a statement on the communications unit's receiver, fully functioning, looping the final transmission between him.
the final communication recording is no longer relevant, Detective.